The Lord of Dunsmore. Lord Alaric Greystone of Dunsmore Hall was a man once feared in Parliament and worshipped on his lands. His word had been law, his temper legend. Yet age and misfortune had stripped him bare. His fortune dwindled with failed ventures and mismanaged estates. His grandeur survived only in the echo of stone halls, now cold with disrepair. His pride, however, remained intact. Alaric had built his legacy upon obedience, and obedience he demanded still, from his servants, his tenants, and above all, his 3 sons. The eldest, Edward, dutiful and grave, was the mirror of his father's authority. The second, Thomas, had rebelled, joining the army against his father's will, marrying a girl of humble birth, Beneth, the blacksmith's daughter. For that, Alaric had cast him out, banished his name from hearth and table. The third, Richard, was a bitter youth, reckless and indulgent, forever resenting the father who scolded him, yet expecting his coin. When Edward, the heir, was killed in a carriage accident, Alaric's world shifted. His pride was wounded, yet his mind moved swiftly to the matter of succession. Richard? Never. Thomas? Dead upon the battlefield in Spain. Then the letter came. A parish priest, grey-bearded and trembling, brought news. Thomas had left behind a son, a boy named Rowan. His mother, Beneth, had raised him quietly in the countryside, never daring to approach Dunsmore Hall. With Edward gone and Richard unfit, Rowan was now the lawful heir to Dunsmore. Alaric raged. To think that a smith's grandson, the issue of his defiant son and that woman, should sit in Edward's place. But law and blood allowed no argument. The boy must come. Rowan Greystone arrived at Dunsmore not as a wide-eyed boy, but as a man of 28, tall, broad-shouldered, bearing the discipline of a soldier and the steady gaze of one who had endured much. His mother, Beneth, had raised him in obscurity, teaching him pride and humility in equal measure. Unknown to Alaric, Rowan had also inherited a vast fortune and a thriving trade through his mother's side. A distant uncle, a wealthy merchant in Bristol, had left Rowan a substantial inheritance. When Rowan presented himself at the crumbling gates of Dunsmore, the household was thrown into turmoil. Richard sneered openly at the interloper. The servants whispered of the smith's blood. And Alaric, though forced to acknowledge him as the lawful heir, received him with icy contempt. "You are no son of mine," Alaric said at their first meeting in the great hall. "Only the law binds me to you." Rowan inclined his head, calm but resolute. "Then let the law bind us, my lord." For Dunsmore's sake, if not for mine, Richard greeted him with venom masked in civility. "So the blacksmith's whelp comes to claim my father's seat," he sneered when alone. "Be sure, cousin, the hall is no place for you." Rowan, unruffled, replied, "Dunsmore is not yours to give or withhold. It is mine to restore whispers and schemes." Richard could not endure it. For years he had counted himself heir, wasting what little fortune remained with the certainty that all would one day be his. To see Rowan not only claim the inheritance, but earn the respect of tenants and servants, was a humiliation he could not abide. He began quietly to undermine him. He bribed a steward to lose accounts Rowan had balanced. He spread whispers in the village that Rowan intended to sell lands to strangers. He even arranged for ruffians to waylay Rowan on the road one misted evening. But Rowan fought them off with soldier's steel, dragging one of the wounded men back to the hall, where the fellow confessed, under Rowan's unyielding gaze, that Richard had paid them. Alaric flew into a rage. He struck Richard across the face before the household, roaring, "You shame me more than your brother ever did." But Rowan, though wounded, stopped short of pressing the matter. "Let him be," he said. "He is your son still. I will not dishonour Dunsmore further with family at war." This mercy stoked Richard's hatred all the more. When Rowan at last revealed his fortune, the merchant fleet, the warehouses, the wealth inherited from his mother's kin, Alaric was staggered. Dunsmore, which had teetered on ruin, could be restored. The old lord, proud to the end, begrudgingly began to see Rowan not as an interloper, but as the saviour of the Greystone name. Richard, however, conceived one last desperate scheme. On the night of a great gathering, when Rowan was to present the plans for Dunsmore's restoration to tenants and creditors, Richard sought to ruin him. He bribed a servant to set fire to the hall's library, where Rowan kept the deeds of his inheritance. The fire caught fast, licking up the panelling, smoke curling through the corridors. Panic spread. Alaric, feeble, was near trapped. It was Rowan who broke through the smoke, dragging his grandfather to safety. He returned once more, cloak wrapped round his face, to salvage the documents Richard had hoped would burn. And there, amidst the smoke, he found Richard, not rescuing, not aiding, but rifling through chests in search of gold. The cousins locked eyes. Rowan dragged him bodily from the flames. Outside, coughing and blackened with soot, Richard spat, "You should have left me." "You'll never be my lord," Rowan answered, low but steady. "I did not save you for your sake, Richard. I saved you because you are a Greystone, and I will not let the name be consumed by fire." In the days after, Alaric, shaken by near death, summoned his household. With failing voice but indomitable will, he declared, "This house belongs to Rowan, son of Thomas. He is heir not only by law but by honour. Richard, you are disinherited. Go where you will, but go from Dunsmore." Richard left in disgrace. Rowan, meanwhile, began the slow labour of restoration. With his fortune, the hall was repaired, the lands cultivated, the tenants paid. The name of Greystone became a beacon of justice and strength. When Alaric died, Rowan stood at his bier, grief tempered with solemn pride. "You sought obedience, my lord," he murmured, "but it is resilience that endures." So Dunsmore flourished again through the son of the banished child, who carried both the fire of Thomas and the mercy of Beneth. And the chronicles of the county would long record how Rowan Greystone, once despised, restored his house not only with fortune, but with honour. Pray accept my gratitude, dear viewer, for accompanying us through this tale. I trust it has brought you some measure of delight. If the story has pleased you, kindly grace us with your thoughts and do subscribe to this channel that you may be promptly notified when further romances and adventures are unveiled.